National Human Trafficking Month, a recent study shows that there are more than 300,000 human trafficking victims in the state of Texas. And here in Houston and Harris County, what's called modern-day slavery is at its peak. Our area is #1 in the USA for human and sex trafficking. That's why the constable from Precinct 1 in Harris County is on a mission to stamp it out.
So my name is Allison Franklin, and I am a human trafficking survivor. And I have been trafficked in 2 different periods of my life. The first time I was a runaway, I think I was about 12. I ran away from home. I had no place to sleep, no food, no clothes, and I started sleeping with older men who I considered my boyfriend.
Many of the sex traffickers groom children while they're in high school, and there's family conflict going on in the home, and they spend months and months grooming them so that they feel comfortable leaving the confines of their home and with their family and go get into the life of sex trafficking.
He showed up as my knight in shining armor, promised me a different life, protection from this gang. So I went through an extensive grooming period where I didn't have to work. I got my hair did, my nails did, all the drugs I could have. And then eventually, turns out that I owed him for everything that he had ever given me.
They typically bring their victims outside of the city in which they have friends, family, and things like that, because the more they're away from their family and away from their network of support, the easier it is to control them. So they move them from city to city and place like that so that A, they're keeping people fresh, and 2, they're destabilizing again the human trafficked person's life and is keeping them off balance.
Often he beat me. Always if I came home empty-handed. He controlled everything that I did. Every dime I made he took. He told me what to wear, when to speak, who to speak to, when and where I couldn't go, when to wake, when to sleep. He controlled how much drugs I took.
So most of your human trafficking or sex slaves are marketed through sites like Backpage, Craigslist, some of these places that are not normally the public sees. So you kind of got to know where to go look for it.
Runaways, homeless youth. I think the transgender population is at high risk. I think addiction puts people at risk, gang involvement.
People think it's coming from a foreign country, that a lot of the human trafficking is coming from Asia or, South America or things like that, or Mexico. It's not. 70% of the victims of human trafficking are right here. They're American citizens, they're children. And so that message needs to be kind of discussed a little bit more now.
First is just really understanding the signs of human trafficking. And for me, because I just mentioned that a lot of victims don't self-identify. So if they're not identified, there's no chance of them getting out. So that makes our job as citizens all the more important to know the signs of human trafficking.
The first prong is the educational route. We're putting on learning seminars for people to understand how to recognize somebody that's being human trafficked or sex trafficked. So we're going to our airlines, our bus companies, hotels, CPS workers, and educating them on what to look for and signs for human trafficked people, and making sure that they're armed with the necessary information so that they can contact law enforcement if they see something suspicious. So the biggest point is going to be the educational component. And then the second prong is the enforcement component.
So what happened to your trafficker?
He's still out there.
Pimps, human traffickers, I'm coming to get you.